Have you ever woken from a dream so vivid, so real, that for a fleeting moment, the waking world felt like the illusion? Have you ever been visited in your sleep by a loved one, long since passed, who spoke to you with a voice you remembered to the letter, in a form you knew as well as your own reflection? Every night, for as long as humanity has existed, we have closed our eyes and embarked upon a journey into an uncharted territory, the realm of dreams. It is a world without physical laws, a landscape sculpted by our deepest fears, our most fervent hopes, and our most buried memories. We are the architects of this world, and yet, we are often merely passengers within it. But what if this realm had a master, a keeper? What if the very shapes and forms that populate our nightly theater were the deliberate creations of a divine artist? The ancient Greeks, in their profound quest to give a face to every force of nature, imagined such a being. He was not a god of thunder or sea, but of the subtle, powerful, and mysterious world we all enter when we sleep. His name is Morpheus, and this is his story. To understand Morpheus, we must first journey into the deepest, darkest corners of the Greek cosmology, long before the reign of the Olympians. His origins do not lie on the sun-drenched peak of Mount Olympus, but in the primordial darkness of the underworld, in the very fabric of the cosmos itself. His grandmother was Nyx, the formidable and ancient goddess of the night. Nyx was a protogenos, a fundamental deity born from chaos itself. Even Zeus, the king of the gods, held a deep and reverent fear of her power. She was the embodiment of the nightly veil that blankets the world, a force of nature both beautiful and terrifying. From Nyx came a son, Hypnos, the personification of sleep. Hypnos was no minor deity. He was a gentle but immensely powerful god whose influence was universal. He could lull mortals, gods, and even the mighty Zeus himself into a state of peaceful slumber. His touch was a release, a temporary death that offered respite from the burdens of the waking world. His domain was a dark and silent cave in the land of the Cimmerians, a place untouched by the rays of the sun, where the river of forgetfulness, Lethe, flowed quietly by. It is here, in this silent, perpetually twilight world, that Morpheus was born. He is the son of Hypnos, sleep itself, and in some tellings, Pasithea, the goddess of relaxation and rest. He was born of slumber, to give that slumber meaning. But Morpheus was not alone. He was the chief among the Oneiroi, the thousand sons of sleep, who were the very spirits of dreams. While his countless brothers would swarm out into the minds of mortals each night, 3 of them held special prominence. There was Phobta, or as the gods called him, Iceless. He was the shaper of nightmares. It was he who would craft the terrifying beasts, the monstrous creatures, and the savage predators that haunt our darkest dreams. When you dream of being chased by a faceless horror or a ravenous wolf, it is the handiwork of Phobta you are witnessing. Then there was Phantasos, the artist of the inanimate and the bizarre. He was responsible for the surreal landscapes, the impossible architecture, and the strange, inanimate objects that populate our dreams. A talking rock, a melting clock, a forest of glass trees, these were the creations of Phantasos, the master of illusion and unreality. And then, there was Morpheus. His name, derived from the Greek word morphe, means form or shape. This name held the very key to his power and his purpose. While his brothers crafted nightmares and surrealism, Morpheus had a unique and far more delicate task. He was the shaper of human forms. He was the divine actor, the celestial mimic. It was his duty to take on the appearance, the voice, the mannerisms, and even the very soul of any human being and deliver messages to mortals in their sleep. When a king dreamt of his father offering a prophecy, or a widow dreamt of her husband's last farewell, that was not a mere memory. According to the myth, that was Morpheus. He was the god of meaningful, human-centric dreams, the bridge of communication between the divine and the mortal subconscious. He was the director of the human drama that plays out in our minds every single night. The kingdom of Morpheus and his brothers was as ethereal as the dreams they commanded. As described by the Roman poet Ovid in his masterpiece, Metamorphoses, the dwelling of sleep was a place of absolute tranquility and profound silence. Imagine a cave, carved deep within a hollow mountain. No roosters crow, no watchdogs bark, no rustling leaves or human whispers ever disturb the air. From the bottom of the rock, the river Lethe, the river of oblivion, flowed, its gentle murmur inviting slumber. At the entrance to this cave grew a profusion of poppies and other hypnotic herbs, whose essence the night would collect to spread sleep across the darkened world. Inside this sanctum, there was no door, no hinge to creak and break the stillness. In the center, upon a grand couch of ebony, lay Hypnos himself, in a state of perpetual languor. Around him, in various poses of slumber, lay his countless sons, the Oneiroi, the shapeless forms of dreams waiting to be given purpose. And from this land, 2 gates led to the world of mortals. These gates are one of the most powerful and enduring symbols in the mythology of dreams. One was crafted from gleaming, polished ivory. Through this gate passed the false dreams, the oniroi, which were deceitful, meaningless, and ultimately empty. They were the flights of fancy, the anxieties, and the nonsensical narratives that would dissolve upon waking, leaving no truth behind. The other gate was made of rugged, polished horn. Through this gate emerged the hupa, the dreams of truth. These were the prophetic visions, the divine messages, the visitations that held true meaning for the mortal world. When the gods wished to communicate with humanity, to warn them, to guide them, or to reveal a hidden truth, they would send a dream through the gate of horn. Morpheus was the principal keeper of these gates. He was the one who was most often tasked with carrying these true, meaningful dreams to humanity. His role was not to deceive, but to reveal. He was a messenger, but his medium was not the spoken word in the waking world, like Hermes. His medium was the intimate, personal theater of the human soul. He would craft a perfect replica of a person, a ghost of memory and flesh, and deliver a truth so profound it could change the course of a life. And in one famous myth, this is exactly what he did. Or epic quests, but a deeply human tale of love, loss, and the compassionate power of a dream. It is the story of Ces, the king of Trachis, and his beloved wife, Alcyone. Ces and Alcyone were inseparable. Their love was so profound, so complete, that they playfully referred to each other as Zeus and Hera. This act of innocent hubris, however, would not go unnoticed by the real king and queen of the gods. One day, Ces was forced to make a long and perilous sea voyage to consult the oracle of Apollo. Alcyone, filled with a terrible premonition, begged him not to go. She spoke of the unpredictable fury of the winds, the awesome power of the sea, and she pleaded with him to take her with him if he must go. But Ces could not bear to subject his beloved to such dangers, and promising a swift return, he set sail. Alcyon's fears were tragically justified. A storm of unimaginable violence descended upon Ceyx's ship. The sky and sea became one, a maelstrom of wind and water. The mast was shattered, the oars were splintered, and the waves, like mountains, crashed over the deck. As the ship went down, Ceyx's last thoughts were of his wife. He whispered her name into the storm, and the sea took him. Back in Trachis, Alcyone knew nothing of this. Every day, she would pray, not for his life, but for his safe return, and for the health of the husband who was already gone. She prayed most fervently to Hera, the goddess of marriage. Hera was touched by these prayers for a dead man, but she could not bear to have her altars tainted by the pleas of the unknowing widow. The truth had to be revealed. A mortal's grief had to run its course. Hera summoned her messenger, Iris, the goddess of the rainbow. She commanded Iris to travel to the slumbering court of Hypnos and bid him to send a dream to Alcyone, a dream that would tell her the truth of her husband's fate. Iris, cloaked in her thousand-colored robe, descended into the Cimmerian valley. Pushing aside the poppy-filled grasses, she entered the sacred, silent cave. The light from her divine form illuminated the drowsy figures within. She found Hypnos, barely able to lift his head from his stupor. She delivered Hera's command, that a dream, in the very shape of the drowned King Ces, must visit Alcyone. Having delivered her message, Iris, unable to bear the overwhelming sleepiness of the cave any longer, fled back to the waking world. Hypnos stirred. From among his 1,000 sons, he chose the one most skilled for this task. He chose the master of imitation, the artist of human form. He chose Morpheus. He whispered his instructions. Morpheus was to fly to Trachis, take on the form of the drowned Ces, and appear before Alcyone in her sleep. He was to enact the truth, to show her what had happened, and to end her state of unknowing. Morpheus, the dutiful son, prepared for his role. This was to be his finest performance. He gathered the features of Ceyx's face, his posture, his walk. He adopted the pallor of death and donned clothes heavy with seawater. He even mimicked the sound of Ceyx's voice, now filled with the sorrow of the underworld. He flew through the darkness on silent, shadowy wings and arrived at Alcyone's bedside. He stood before her bed. In her dream, Alcyone saw him. She saw her beloved husband, but he was not as she remembered. He was pale, naked, and dripping, a phantom of the man she loved. He leaned over her, and tears, mingled with salt water, fell from his face onto hers. "My poor wife," he began, his voice the one she knew, yet hollowed by tragedy. "Do you recognize me, or has my face changed in death? I am here, but I am a ghost. Your prayers were not answered. Ces is dead. The storm took me. Look at me, Alcyone. See your husband. No longer will you offer prayers for my return. I am gone." In her dream, Alcyone cried out. She tried to embrace him, to hold him, but her arms closed on empty air. "Wait for me," she screamed, "I will come with you." The sound of her own voice woke her up. The dream was gone, the room was empty, but the truth of the vision lingered. It was too real, too detailed, to be a mere fantasy. The saltwater tears on her face, the chilling finality in his voice, it was the work of a god. It was a message sent through the gate of Horn. Devastated, Alcyon ran to the seashore, to the very spot where she had watched him depart. As the sun rose, she saw something floating in the distance. As it drifted closer, she realized it was a body, and as it washed ashore, she saw that it was her husband, Ses. Her heart broke, but in that moment of ultimate grief, something miraculous happened. The gods, moved by their profound love, transformed her. She grew wings, her body was covered in feathers, and she became a kingfisher, a halcyon bird. She flew to her husband's body, covering him with her wings, kissing his cold face with her new beak. In response, the gods took pity on Ses as well, and transformed him too into a kingfisher. Their love was immortalized, and the ancients believed that for 7 days each winter, the halcyon days, the sea would become perfectly calm and still, so that the divine birds could safely nest. This myth, of love and loss, was made possible by Morpheus. He was not a cruel god. His role was to deliver a devastating truth, but he did so with artistry and compassion, allowing Alcyon to grieve and, ultimately, to be reunited with her love. He was the gentle hand that guided her from ignorance to tragic understanding. The story of Ses and Alcyon showcases the very essence of Morpheus. He is not a god of random dreams, but a god of meaningful narrative. He represents the brain's incredible ability to construct coherent, emotionally resonant stories while we are unconscious. He is the personification of the dream that tells the truth, the dream that provides closure, the dream that changes us when we wake. His legacy is one of transformation. His very name, Morpheus, has echoed through our language and culture. In the 19th century, when the powerful pain-killing alkaloid was isolated from the opium poppy, the flower that grew at the entrance to his father's cave, it was named morphine, in honor of Morpheus, for its ability to induce sleep and dreams. It is a fitting, if somewhat dark, tribute to the god who could bring relief from the pains of the waking world, albeit in a different form. Morpheus represents a fundamental human question: where does inspiration come from? He is the divine muse who visits poets and artists in their sleep. He is the whisper of a solution to a problem that has plagued a scientist. He is the embodiment of the eureka moment that arrives, fully formed, from the depths of the subconscious. He is also a symbol of the boundary between illusion and reality. He can craft a perfect imitation of reality, so perfect that it is only upon waking that we recognize it as a dream. This concept, of a dream world indistinguishable from the real one, has fascinated philosophers and storytellers for millennia. And it is this very concept that would lead to his most famous modern resurrection. For centuries, Morpheus remained a relatively minor figure in the grand tapestry of Greek mythology, known primarily through Ovid's tale. But in the late 20th century, he was reborn, reimagined for a new era, and transformed into a cultural icon. In 1989, writer Neil Gaiman resurrected the God of Dreams for his seminal comic book series, The Sandman. Gaiman's Morpheus, also known as Dream of the Endless, was far more than the Greek god. He was an eternal, cosmic entity, responsible for the dreams of all sentient beings in the universe. He was portrayed as a tall, gaunt figure with pale skin and dark, star-filled eyes, a gothic, brooding, and infinitely complex character. Gaiman took the core concept of the mythological Morpheus, the shaper of stories, the lord of a dream realm, and expanded it into a breathtakingly epic mythology of his own. He was no longer just a son of Hypnos, but one of 7 cosmic siblings, the Endless, who were older and more powerful than any gods. This modern Morpheus was a tragic hero, bound by ancient rules, struggling with his own pride and the weight of his immense responsibilities. He became the definitive version of the character for millions of readers, a testament to the enduring power of the original myth. Just a decade later, the name Morpheus would be introduced to an even wider audience. In the 1999 groundbreaking film, The Matrix, the character Morpheus, played by Lawrence Fishburne, acts as a guide to the protagonist, Neo. This Morpheus is a freedom fighter, a mentor who reveals to Neo that his entire world is a sophisticated computer simulation, a dream world. The choice of name was no accident. The Morpheus of The Matrix directly serves the function of his mythological namesake. He operates on the boundary between the dream world, the Matrix, and the real world. His most iconic act is offering Neo a choice, symbolized by 2 pills. The blue pill offers a return to the comfortable illusion, to a life of blissful ignorance within the dream. The red pill offers an escape into the harsh, difficult, but liberating truth. This is a direct, brilliant modern interpretation of the gates of ivory and horn. The blue pill is the gate of ivory, the easy, false dream. The red pill is the gate of Horn, the difficult, transformative truth. The character of Morpheus in the film, like the god of myth, is the one who wakes the dreamer up. He reveals that the world they thought was real is, in fact, an elaborate construction, and offers them a chance to see what lies behind the curtain. From a god who comforted a grieving queen, to a cosmic entity governing the collective unconscious, to a cyber-revolutionary fighting a war for the human mind, Morpheus has proven to be an incredibly adaptable and resonant idea. He is the ultimate symbol of transformation, the guide who stands at the crossroads of what is and what seems to be. Morpheus is more than just a name in an ancient book. He is the personification of a universal human experience. He is the recognition that the stories we tell ourselves in the dark matter. They can bring comfort, they can bring terror, they can bring prophecy, and they can bring truth. He is the quiet artist who paints with the canvas of our minds. He is the messenger who speaks a language of pure symbol and emotion. He reminds us that in the silent hours of the night, we are all visited by gods and monsters of our own making. He is the proof that even in the deepest slumber, a part of us is awake, telling ourselves the stories we need to hear. So the next time you awaken from a dream that feels profoundly real, a dream that leaves you with a lingering sense of wonder or sorrow, take a moment. You may have just received a message. You may have just walked through the gate of Horn. You may have just had a visitation from the master of the craft, the shaper of forms, the eternal god of our dreams, Morpheus.